The Marlins bats no-showed the Giants series. They just didn't show up. And there is some questions with the pitching rotation. Eury Perez is on his way back to the Marlins rotation. How does he factor in? How are they going to work it all together? That's coming up on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for 3 seasons now. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let us know your thoughts down in the comments section. And of course, as always, starting off the week, it's Loud Miami Fan in the house.
It's hashtag Let's Get Louder Mondays right here on Locked On Marlins. Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. Going to start a new week, maybe get more than 2 wins, and it all starts tonight against the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, that's right. And more about that series later because the Marlins have to win this series. The Rockies, quite honestly, might be the worst professional team in history. They're 9-50. It's June 1st. But we're going to start talking about the offense for the Marlins. They hit a major rut against the Giants, just couldn't get anything going. They're lucky they won a game. 1-0 was the only game they won. They dropped 2 out of 3. We're also going to talk about the pitching rotation because Eury Perez is returning. I know we have some thoughts, maybe a 6-man rotation. And then, of course, preview the Colorado series. That's all coming up on today's show. So this weekend, LMF, it was rough to watch. Not very exciting baseball at all. Not a lot of action.
No, and I was there yesterday afternoon on Sunday to watch the Marlins trying to get that 13,000 fan crowd to get louder. And it was not easy when you're leaving so many runners on base. Fans just don't know how to cheer because they're expecting something not to happen, and that's exactly what it did. And let's start with Friday, right? Friday, all the news that was broken by this team, the Monday team here on Locked On Marlins, of course, led by you with Humberto Hernandez making the Major League roster. Dane Myers told me he was coming back. I said that one. And then throughout the day, you and I knew what was happening. We obviously weren't the ones to break it. We were asked not to, but we knew that Matt Mervis was getting dealt. And I bring all this stuff, or not dealt, DFA'd, I should say, and Ronnie Simon being DFA'd. And I bring this up because kind of Friday night was setting a new tone for this franchise moving on in the season, right? You have VM Jr. called up earlier in the week, last Monday, last Monday, I think he made his debut in San Diego. And you have Hernandez called up. Then you have, I forget the other guy's name already.
Jack Winkler.
Jack Winkler, something with a W. Jack Winkler. The reason we don't remember these, I didn't remember the guy's name, is neither really did anything at the plate this weekend. I will give Humberto Hernandez a great catch to basically save the Saturday night game. But other than that, they didn't add much to this team. You get Dane Myers back. I believe he went 0-4 over Friday and Saturday. Yesterday, he did have a pinch hit opportunity in which he walked, which I think that was to load the bases in the bottom of the 8th or 7th, one of the two.
It was in the later innings, yeah.
Yeah, and then Sanoha, he was the 9th Sanoha yesterday. So it was 3-1 count. All he had to do was not swing, and then he swung, and he put the ball into a ground ball out, and it really ended the rally. And that's how the whole weekend went. You put people on base, you didn't score them, and unfortunately, we got Robbie Raid. That's all I'm going to say there.
I like that. I don't like the fact that we got Robbie Raid, but I like that phrase because, that's what happened. The Marlins, second game, you win 1-0 and Edward Cabrera was fantastic. The bullpen was fantastic, but I just was like, I'm grateful for the win, but you got to play better because you got shut out on Friday. That was just an ugly performance. Same thing kind of happened in the Saturday game. Now, Sunday, you had your opportunities, and this is what I've been preaching now for a while with this team. If you get runners on base, you draw your walks, you get base hits, you have to capitalize. They had the bases loaded twice, 2 different opportunities to drive in some runs, like get that timely hit, and they couldn't do it. And there was really no power. I do want to mention Kyle Stowers. He's in a little bit of a rut right now. He's struggling at the plate. The at-bat he had, I think it was Sunday's game. He took a fastball 99 miles an hour right down the middle for strike 3. It shows me that his approach was just not there. He wasn't ready for the velocity, and he's hit really well against fastballs all season. I think this is just a small bump in the road, but it's the ebbs and flows with the season. And when you're a rebuilding team, you mentioned Heriberto Hernandez, Jack Winkler, that was almost turning the page on the first third of the year. Now we're in a different phase of the Marlins season. That's how I'm looking at it. Because the first third of the season, you had, Matt Mervis. He was your acquisition, and then you realize it's not working out. You're going to part ways. Now we're into the second part, before the trade deadline. Who's going to build up their stock? Who's going to earn their opportunity to stick on this roster? I know you wanted to mention Jesus Sanchez. Jesus Sanchez right now, it feels like, he had a great series in San Diego, and I think that's awesome. The Marlins are loaded in the outfield, and not quality necessarily. They don't have Aaron Judge and, these guys running around superstars. But what I mean by that, they have a lot of young guys who are ready to play. Victor Mesa Jr. right now is being blocked. He can't stay on the major league roster because there's too many guys. Nothing against Jesus Sanchez, but his time as a Marlin, I think, is running low. There's going to be a point here from now until the trade deadline when I think he gets traded off.
Either traded or EFA'd at some point.
No.
And it's not. I want to make this clear when I say this, because I know your listeners and a lot of the Marlins fan base think I don't like Jesus Sanchez. In years past, I always thought that Brian De La Cruz was better. And at the time he was. Now, one is a major leaguer on a AAA plus team. Let's say it in the Marlins, because that's what we are. Let's say what it is.
Yeah.
And, right, it is what it is.
Yeah,
but
it is what it is. We call it how it is.
Brian De La Cruz is with the New York Yankees organization now. He was a Brave. He was in the majors earlier this year. He finished last year with the Pirates after the trade. Jesus Sanchez has had the opportunity to step up. And I mean, like, really hone his skill, really hone the opportunity that he's been given. And he hasn't. And he had a decent week. I think he can be a good fourth outfielder on a better team where he has veteran leadership that can really help him grow and mature. On this team, he doesn't have that. He's not going to get better. In fact, I'll say with his power, he's regressed a lot. He has 2 or 3 home runs?
I think 3.
3 home runs, got the last one in San Diego. He's had at bats, especially over the weekend. On Sunday, he had at bats that he's just swinging, and you see it almost every game. The approach, except for when he was leading off, the approach is let me put the ball in play instead of let me take the walk. Let me really maybe hit it to a certain area. But no, he's swinging into these double plays, and it showed in the 9th inning last night or yesterday afternoon, where he grabbed we haven't even said this. Xavier Edwards, 5-for-5 game. Welcome back.
That's right.
And Xavier Edwards had the 5-for-5 game. His last at bat at the top of the 9th sets the tone for the epic comeback that the Marlins have done at home all season. And it ends with the second pitch with Jesus Sanchez grounding into a double play. And that's stuff that we've seen his whole career. Again, nothing against him. I prefer to see Victor Mesa Jr. up here. I want him to have the opportunity. I don't want it to be a wasted option, and now it is. I want the young guys to get their chance. I want Dane Myers starting every day. I want Kyle Stowers starting or platooning every other day, depending on the pitcher. I want Victor Mesa Jr. up. And I want them to have their opportunities. And unfortunately, Jesus Sanchez, and I'm going long here, but Jesus Sanchez is taking away. We know who he is. I want to see what he can become, honing his skill with others around him again who can make him better, because his career will flourish and have more longevity if that happens. Where here, we know who he is. We're not going to go win. We're now 11 games under 500. We're not going to be a winning team at the end of the season unless something turns around and clicks. This is not 2003. There's no Josh Beckett. I mean, there's a Eury Perez, but there's no Josh Beckett or Dontrell Willis coming up, right? And I just want to make that clear. I appreciate what Sanchi has done. I just think, like you, a trade would be nice. Being what Ben Dix has done, I can see him cutting ways just to get that extra spot. And it would be...
Yeah, I agree.
And Jesus would be picked up off waivers like this by someone. It's not that he's not a major leaguer and he has no options to go to AAA.
Coming up next, we're going to finish this conversation with Jesus Sanchez because there is a point I want to make, and also talk about Xavier Edwards. And after that, we're going to move right into the rotation because the Marlins have a really big decision coming up. Eury Perez is this close to making his return to the major leagues. That's all coming up right after this break. And this episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, offers all 9 essential amino acids, and it's the perfect snack for those busy days. If I get back from the gym, I want a little protein boost. I like the no-shells variety because it's easy. You just got your bag, you reach in, there you go. But, some people like the in-shell variety. They like cracking open each shell themselves, and they have that as well. Both are classics. Both are favorites among a lot of people. So whether you're running between meetings, you're dropping off the kids, you're at the gym, maybe you're watching a Marlins baseball game on a Sunday afternoon and you just want a healthy snack, that's where you get those Wonderful Pistachios. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. If you're an everyday listener to Locked On Marlins, thank you for being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. And if this is your first time checking it out, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now, Xavier Edwards, 5 for 5 on Sunday. That was the player I want to see, and I hope to see at the beginning of the season. It didn't. He got in a little bit of a slump, but dealt with an injury. He came back. He's on fire, and he's playing a new position, second base. I think that's perfect. We've talked about this before. Xavier Edwards was never a shortstop. They tried so long to make it work. It didn't. Common sense. Otto Lopez at shortstop, and then X at second base, and it's working. Offensively, maybe that cleared his mind a little bit, where he's able just to play his natural position and just go up there, see ball, hit ball, because he's really good at that. X, if he can continue doing what he does, the X factor, he's going to be a machine for this team moving forward. And then Jesus Sanchez, last thing on him, I don't think he's going to get DFA'd. I think the Marlins are that's what LMF is saying with opening up a spot. That is going to happen. It has to happen because he's not a building block on this team. We know who Jesus Sanchez is. He's a funny player. He's a lovable player. We all love him. We all root for him. But the business side of things, this rebuild is going to progress without him in a Marlins uniform. That day is just going to come. I think you can get an outfield needy team to bite and get a couple intriguing prospects for him. The rotation. LMF, here we go. We gotta talk about this. Eury Perez coming up in, I'd say, couple weeks at least, maybe next week, not this week, but the week after. It's a possibility. How did the Marlins handle it? They don't have an open rotation spot right now.
Well, they create one, and what I mean by that is you go 6-player rotation. It'll be good for the way they are playing with the pitchers' arms this season, only giving them 5 innings, let's say, not really even worrying about pitch count, but monitoring innings and getting them through maybe the second or third time through, going with our competition the third time through the lineup. That's really the best way to do it, unless you're making a trade, which, again, deadline's going to come up. A trade can happen. I'm excited for Eury to come back. I think that it's good. It's great for the team. There's no, Weathers has been doing great since he came back from injury. You got Max Meyer growing, growing. You'll have Eury plugged back in. Contrell's doing better. Had a great May for what it is. Sandy needs a little growth here on his part to come back from the injury. And I think I talked to you about this a little bit, that Eury's going to help that. What I mean by that is, Sandy was at his best when he was very competitive internally against Pablo Lopez back in 2022 and 2021. And then even when Eury was here before Sandy got injured in 2023, Sandy's better months of that season was when Eury was up here and he was teaching Eury, and they were talking every day, going over inning by inning. If Sandy pitched Tuesday, let's say, and Eury pitched Monday, Wednesday, they're talking about it and whatnot. So I think the internal competition that's going to bring with Eury back is going to help Sandy out a lot, and vice versa, help Eury a lot coming back from Tommy John, which Sandy is doing, help him grow. But it's a 6-man rotation until a trade or something occurs for the potential all-star. I say that about every player. Potential all-star Edward Cabrera, who out of nowhere is a great pitcher all of a sudden, that consistently for 3 games, great pitcher. And we hope that continues because his trade stock's going to go up. Overall, you're going to see injuries. You've seen them happen throughout the season. Sunday, I think Corbin Burns went down for Arizona. If Arizona needs a starter, we may have 1 or 2 available for them, and they have a great farm system. If the Dodgers are going to need a starter, they have a great farm system. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Eury's return, there's a couple things we have to consider and remember. The first one being, he's coming off of Tommy John surgery. He hasn't pitched in 2 years, much like Sandy Alcantara. Eury Perez, you can't expect him to just hit the ground rolling and just go 99 miles an hour every pitch, and he's pitching into the 8th inning. That's not going to happen. They're going to take it slow. They're going to protect him because he's a jewel. He is a treasure of this team. One of the best pitching prospects that the Marlins have signed and developed and watched evolve into a really good arm. He only has 19 career major league starts, so they're going to be very slow and methodical with his development. And the second thing, his return, obviously, he's going to be in the rotation very soon this month. Cal Quantrill, Edward Cabrera feel like 2 potential players to be traded at one point this season. We've seen Peter Bendix pull the trigger on early deals. He did that last season with Luis Arias, actually in May. It was May 4th when he got traded. So Bendix isn't necessarily always going to wait for the trade deadline to happen. You could wake up one day and see a notification, Edward Cabrera traded to Astros, Edward Cabrera traded to Diamondbacks. Like, that is a possibility. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's a possibility, because then that would open the spot for a 5-man rotation, a traditional 5-man. A 6-man is interesting because I wonder how it potentially will change the dynamic and the approach of specifically Sandy Alcantara. Would that benefit him, having that extra rest day and settle into a new routine of some sorts? I don't think it can hurt, because obviously it hasn't worked out to this point with his return from Tommy John surgery, and we keep saying the same thing over and over again. Well, maybe next start we see Sandy. Maybe next start, and it keeps happening. These innings, and it's been awful. So a 6-man rotation really creates a new dynamic and a new approach for all the pitching staff, but especially Sandy Alcantara. I'm very intrigued to see if they implement that and what the benefits would be and how it affects certain pitchers.
Yep. And if you would have said this a month ago, if Eury was to come back a month ago, you would have thought that Edward Cabrera was going to be out and into the bullpen. Maybe a closing role, maybe something different. Maybe he's the next John Smoltz, starter, closer, back to starter. No one. I'm not comparing, guys. I'm not comparing.
We got to clip that.
Cabrera
somebody clip that.
to John Smoltz. Let's make that clear. I'm just saying, from going one way to another, back to the other. I will say that it will benefit Sandy. It'll be a change. He'll have to get used to it, as will everyone, to pitch a 6-day instead of a 5th. They're going to have to change it up. But it also means that we lose a spot potentially in our bullpen, because you have to fit Eury back onto the 26-man roster. Or are you going to send a position player down? Or are you going to make a trade for one of our 5+ outfielders? You're not trading anybody in the infield right now, right? Xavier Edwards isn't going anywhere. Otto Lopez, we could assume, is not going anywhere. Connor Norby, not going anywhere. And yes, I just said 3 second basemen that are playing second base, shortstop, and third. But on the other side, you have Wagaman, Liam Hicks at first, or DH. You're not trading, well, maybe one of our catchers. Who knows? That could happen, right? We have 3 catchers. But it looks like someone in that bullpen is going to take the hit if that's the way they go with the 6-man rotation. I would like to say something about Cal Quantrill, too, regarding him being traded. He's pitched best versus the West so far in the last 2 weeks. We faced a lot of the Dodgers twice, the Padres, and now the Giants facing Colorado starting tonight. Cal Quantrill's pitched great against the West because he was in the West last year. So again, if a team in the West does need a starting pitcher, well, Cal Quantrill has pitched well in your division already. Maybe he's the guy who they want to bring over. Again, coming down to the deadline, we'll see what happens. On a 1-year term, you never know what's going to happen with that player, right? If they're borrowing him for half a season or not. And what a great move it would be if Bendix can pull off a trade and get some decent, high-quality prospects in adding to our farm system that's already been growing.
If you can trade Quantrill, that's a huge plus, because he's a rental, essentially. You sign him for 1 year, $3.5 million. If it worked out, I mean, it was a given they were going to try to trade him. If the Marlins are uncompetitive at the deadline, you're going to at least try to deal him. And with Edward Cabrera, he had a great month of May. If you listen to the show every day, I talk a lot about Cabrera because I've watched him pitch for the last 5 years. It's been inconsistent. He put together one of the best months, if not the entire best month of his professional baseball career. An ERA of 2 on the dot. He was 28 strikeouts in 27 innings. Cabrera was awesome, and it started with command. He was locating his pitches. That's all it comes down to. Now he has another month, the month of June, to keep this up. If he keeps this up, that's amazing. That's incredible, and there's no way you move him out of the rotation. But what they could do potentially, because he's in arbitration and he's starting to make a little bit more money, the Marlins could deal him at the deadline as well. Don't count out a Edward Cabrera trade. In fact, I would argue that with each positive outing you see from him, that's his trade stock going up, and it's more likely than not that he gets traded at the deadline. Now, coming up next, we got to preview this Rocky series. We talked about Cal Quantrill. He was a former Rocky last year. The Marlins are going to face his former team, one of the worst teams in all of baseball history. They got to win this series, guys. It's an absolute necessity. That's coming up right after this. A reminder that if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. But remember, if you're on the go, you're at the gym, you're driving your car, you can listen to it as well. You don't have to be on YouTube. We're on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, all the major podcast platforms out there. The Marlins, this is a must-win series. There's no doubt about this. You can't lose to the Colorado Rockies. And I want to preface this, LMF, by saying I feel bad for Rockies fans all over the country. If you're a Rockies fan, this is atrocious. The management over there has been awful. There is no excuse in the world for a Major League Baseball team with professional athletes being 9-50 in the first day of June. That's ridiculous. But this is baseball. The Marlins are going to go, or Colorado is heading to Miami. You're on your home turf. You got to win this series, because if you lose it, then there's real problems. You have talent. You out-talent this team. Just get the job done. Play sound, clean baseball and take care of business.
You could compare this series to when we went to the Chicago White Sox a few weeks ago and lost that series, even though we were on paper the better team, quote unquote. This is a home series. I understand if it was in Colorado, we never play well in Colorado, right? You have to beat them there. But if you don't understand it, it's different altitude, etc. But this is in your home turf. You have to win this series. They just got swept by the Mets. They are coming down here just like the Giants, who also had gotten swept by Detroit. They're not happy with that. They're a Major League Baseball team. Let's make that clear, okay?
Right.
Even though, let's say what you want about their record, and you can't play down to a Major League Baseball team. And the Marlins, as I said earlier on this show, are a AAA plus team also, but we're the better AAA plus team, okay? And we have the better starting pitching. One of those starting pitchers, I guess the rotation here will be is it Max Sandy Contral, or who's pitching tonight? Do we know?
Let's see here.
I think Sandy's Tuesday.
Sandy is pitching in the series. You have Max Meyer as well. The thing with Colorado is that essentially Colorado is a AAA team. I truly wonder if they played the jumbo shrimp best out of 5, who wins that series. And that's with, of course, the graduations of Agustin Ramirez, who's up in the majors now. But you take a look at this Rockies team, it's bad from top to bottom. There's nobody there that is competing. Brenton Doyle, he's an outfielder. You gotta be careful to him. He's talented, but underperforming. Ryan McMahon, another one of their good hitters, underperforming. And the pitching, Colorado's had this problem for years. The Marlins, they had a slow series offensively against the Giants. We touched on that earlier. This is a get-right series for the Bats. I want to emphasize that. The Rockies are going to throw out guys. They're veterans, but they're not good. German Marquez, Kyle Freeland, 2 names that have been around the league for a while. They're not good pitchers. The Marlins have to capitalize on this, and this is going to tell me a lot about the return of Xavier Edwards. Can he continue to get on base? Dane Myers, can he get back into a groove like he was pre-injury? And then Kyle Stowers. Get back to Kyle Stowers that I know he can be. And that's crushing lefties, crushing fastballs, and being a complete hitter. This is your opportunity, and I want to sweep. I would be disappointed if you lose a game this series. And that's me saying that I know the Marlins are not a good baseball team, but the Rockies are a different level of horrible right now. Get out there and get a sweep.
Yep, as I thought, I'm looking at the probables starting tonight. It's Max versus Hardemon Marquez. Tomorrow is Sandy versus an unannounced pitcher, and same thing for Wednesday's get out of town game. It's Call Quantrill. So I was right on the rotation.
Yeah, Quantrill versus Freeland, I think.
Right. It just hasn't been announced yet. I want to say this for Sandy. Look, Max should beat the pitcher tonight. The pitch, Garmani's 1-7, a 7.13 ERA. Max is obviously better than that. Max should win tonight. Tomorrow's the big one, the Tuesday game. And that's Sandy. Has to be dominant. I want a complete game from Sandy. I will take 6 innings from Sandy. To me, at this point, that's a complete game.
What's the panic meter? See, in my opinion, I think Tuesday's game, like you said, that's must-watch baseball for every Marlins fan. Because if Sandy goes out there and he struggles against the Rockies, the sky will have fallen and crashed and burned, and there's really nothing left I can say. Sandy has to pitch good. There's no way to put it. Like, this is make or break time, Sandy. You have an 8.47 ERA. You have the worst team in the history of baseball coming into your place, Sandy's Beach. Go out there and shove.
Yep, Sandy has to win, and then he gets the Pirates next week, who we already faced this season. So that's going to be different. It's going to be the first team, other than the Dodgers, who are their own beast, so I don't count them, that Sandy's going to face for the second time because he didn't get that chance. I think it was either against the Mets or the Braves in the rain-out game. It was going to be the second time versus them this season. Anyway, tomorrow's game is huge for Sandy. I do expect dominance versus a AAA type lineup. Look, Goodman is decent on their team.
Yeah, Goodman's the other one.
They have okay players, right? You mentioned McMahon, but overall, they're a 9-win team. They cannot
nine.
Yeah, 9, not nueve. 9-game winning team. If they leave Miami with 11 wins, we have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, is this working? Because they can't leave here with more than 10 wins. I like a sweep. I never assume we're going to sweep anybody yet. Now, talk to me in 2027. Right now, I don't assume us sweeping anybody, but I do expect to win this series and the next series versus the Pirates. I should say there is a series in between versus Tampa Bay, who we already beat two times out of 3 games this season, going to Tampa to play outdoor games for the first time ever. But focusing on this series, I just won't be on this show before playing Tampa, so I wanted to get that in. Colorado, bad team. Marlins, not great team, but the not great team should beat the bad team, and we should do it in deciding fashion. We don't need any of these 1-0 games. We don't need to leave 8 runners on in 3 innings. No, we need to pound. You saw Saturday, 2 days ago, a 16-run game, an 18-run game. I want that versus the Rockies from the Marlins starting tonight. Let's get louder.
Let's do it. Let's go fish. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you guys listening as always and watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.